What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for Bleach: The Thousand Year Blood War. This is episode. What was it? Episode
11.
11. Yeah, episode 11. And with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm Well, I guess this is the flashback that pretty much every anime only viewer has been waiting for at least a decade.
Well, the manga readers, I would say, because I guess anime onlys might have heard about it, but I'm sure like the manga readers are looking forward to it because they know what's going to happen. Obviously, in this, I guess you'd say it's a mini arc.
Yeah. Well, the entirety of this episode is mostly a flashback sequence and how Ichigo's parents met each other for the first time, and we learn about a lot about what their family history is and what their situation was before they ended up meeting each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and we also, of course, pick up where the last episode left off, where Ichigo was standing outside of Kurosaki Clinic, but of course he ends up running away. His Ishin comes out, he's noticed Ichigo was standing up front, but Ichigo's not there. But also, actually, no. Before that, too, we see briefly. We see what was it? Unamaya. I can't remember this dude's name, but
the guy talking with Renji talking.
Yeah,
about
the guy
how
talking with
Zanpakuto-
Renji. Basically saying like Renji also knew that no Asuichi would have accepted Ichigo. So like I guess it was interesting to discover that Renji most likely knew that, but of course he never really said anything. So I guess he also wasn't surprised about the outcome. But yeah, back to the world of the living, Ichigo ends up going to I forget her name too. It was because she's from the Fullbringer arc.
I think her
Unagi.
name is, it's Ichigo's employer that he got a job with.
It was
during the
interesting to
Fullbringer
see
arc.
her again because we just saw her in the Fullbringer arc, but basically Ichigo during the Fullbringer arc had gotten a job working for her, so he ends up going to her and just which was kind of interesting. Like I can't say I expected him to go there, but yeah, he ends up going to her place and she tries to ask Ichigo what's wrong, and Ichigo can't. Of course, he can't really explain things to her, but Ishin ends up coming there and in his Soul Reaper form, and that's basically where pretty much how this mini arc begins, because Ishin starts telling Ichigo about really
not before when Ichigo accidentally leaves behind his supplement Soul Reaper badge, unless he left it there on purpose. But
I kind of doubt it. But like you said, he leaves behind the Soul Reaper badge, and that might come up later, I'm guessing. But if you think about it, he doesn't really have a use for it right now. But he'll probably, of course, he'll probably end up needing it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like you were saying, Ishii finally reveals I guess the whole backstory. Well, starts revealing the whole backstory of how both Ishin and I forgot
Masaki.
Hisaki first met.
And it's also a follow-up from what he was saying in the fake Karakura town arc, that he would eventually tell Ichigo everything.
Yeah. Oh, there was one scene back during the fake Karakura town arc, years ago, during when Ichigo confronted Aizen about why Aizen was so interested in Ichigo and wanted to do research on him. And it was back then Aizen revealed that he knew a lot about Ichigo back when he was first born. But before Aizen could really reveal most of that stuff, Ishin steps in and stops him from revealing that information. So we never really got to find out at the time until Ishii finally reveals the whole story to Ichigo right now.
Yeah. And basically we find out that as we kind of was implied before, that Ishin was a captain of the Shiba, or he was from the Shiba clan originally. So he was Ishin Shiba. So it kind of like shows that Ishin was actually a captain of the of the squad that Rangiku and Hitsugaya were in.
Yeah, it was
So
squad 10.
yeah, Squad 10.
So and of course we also find out that Hitsugaya was, I think he was rank 3 at the time before his promotion to captain. Of course, it's revealed that the reason why Hitsugaya was not, I guess, was chosen to be promoted to be Squad 10 captain is because, I guess, probably because Ishin thought he had more potential as a captain because he was training. He was doing his Bankai training at the time.
Yeah. And they basically like Hitsugaya basically said they'd been getting reports about some incidents that were happening with I guess like some of the Soul Reapers getting attacked by Hollows and this it's not Karakura Town, it was some other place. It was I forget the name of it. It was like but it was somewhere else basically where this was happening. And pretty much Ishin decides to go there and investigate this himself.
Yeah,
Back in the world of the living.
yeah, and then of course we see elsewhere we see a young Masaki Kurosaki. I guess she was living at a Quincy Noble's place, where what was it? It was what was it? Uryu Ishida's father at the time. Um, I and of course, so we also find out that Miss Masaki was put into an arranged marriage with Ishida at the time as well.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting. Like that, of course, we don't really know too much about Uryu's father, but it's kind of interesting to actually get to learn more about who he was, or that he was so, I guess involved with Ichigo's mother in that way.
Yeah, and I guess it also answers a few questions as to why both Ishin and Uryu's father were, I guess close in a way because they have I guess they kind of had a budding relationship here and there, but we don't really get to know the full history until like right now as to why.
Yeah.
So so what happens afterwards is Ishin, of course, along with 2 other Soul Reapers, are trying to find this, I guess, this black or white hollow that they're hunting down. And of course, the 2 other Soul Reapers accompanying Ishin die in such a brutal fashion, kind of, sort of off camera, almost. But you can see one guy's like head being sliced in half. I guess between nose and eyes, which is a bit graphic. But yeah, but it turns out like this hollow that Ishin's fighting is a lot similar to what Ichigo's hollow form kind of looks like.
Well, more specifically, his what was it? The Vasto Lorde form, I think. It kind of has the same face that Ichigo has when he goes into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hollow's name is White, but he's called that because of we do get a scene before this where we finally we see Aizen and Gin, and I forget what the other guy's name was, but the blind guy.
Kaname Tosen?
Kaname Tosen. Yeah, we see that they were, of course, as we know from the Turn Back the Pendulum arc, that Aizen had been doing experiments, and which explained how the Vizards were created, that he was experimenting by trying to fuse basically trying to create hollows from Soul Reapers. And we see that they're in the lab together, and Aizen, we basically I think it's either explained or just inferred that Aizen had created that White was created from a Soul Reaper being fused with a hollow, and that he's called White because of Aizen said because his soul is pure white, but his even though his form is black or something like that.
Yeah. And of course, Ishin goes on to fight this thing by himself. But of course, Aizen all of a sudden just slashes him from behind, and that's when Ishin realizes that there's a traitor amongst in the Soul Society. Of
Mhm.
course, if Ishin knew that, I'm surprised like he didn't bring this information back to to go to 13 at the time. But unless Aizen sort of arranges or framed Ishin in some way to put him into exile.
Yeah, that could have been what happened because if we remember, like, Ishin, in the beginning of Bleach, like he didn't really have any as far as we know, like he didn't have any memory of like any of this. So I mean, it could explain that as
Hmm.
well. Like unless like it might have also been explained later on in the series too, but or in the original series, and I could be forgetting. But there could be also like a lot of things about that possibly could get explained in this arc.
Possibly.
Uh,
Um, but of course, it gets to the point where I guess Ishin's back is against the wall, and that's when Masaki shows up and saves Ishin from getting killed by this hollow or whatever this thing is. And
mm,
she manages to stop it by luring this hollow. Um, I guess what happens, it charges at her and it bites her shoulder, but it gave her an opening to shoot it in the head, but not before this hollow. I guess it has the ability to self destruct, but Ishin comes in and saves her from being killed from the explosion.
yeah, um, and of course, Ishi now is pretty badly wounded. Um, Misaki is like, this is kind of where they like tell each other their names. Or well, Misaki debates if she should tell Ishin if she's a Quincy. Um,
Yeah,
and of
but
course,
of
what, yeah,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, she eventually does reveal that she is a Quincy,
yeah,
but rather you know than being scolded for it, Ishin says that he's happy to have met like a living Quincy for the first time in his life. And
mm,
at the same time, we see Ishida and I guess one of his maids. Um, I guess they were watching this whole fight the entire time, and then instead of going in to retrieve Masaki, they just let them be.
yeah. But we can probably assume this is going to be kind of one of the main conflicts in this arc is that there potentially could be some kind of I guess, a love triangle with Ishida and Ishin because of him having this arranged marriage with Misaki. And
Yeah, but from what
yeah,
I can tell, like what was it? Ishida doesn't look like he's particularly happy about this arranged marriage, and
yeah, because he does have like the conversation earlier with the maid about like uh he's he's like he's having like doubts about it or something, or he's like and he doesn't know if he's like really like making her happy or something like that. Um, but yeah, we also see like Aizen basically is later on like Kaname Tosen's kind of like upset because the plan didn't really go the way it should have because of course like Masaki interfering wasn't part of the plan. Um, but Aizen basically says like he sometimes like even though the plan doesn't go exactly as it should have, it's still like something like it still would end up like working out in one way or another, basically. And Eisen, of course, also just wanted to see what would happen because he was just interested in seeing like uh, I guess because he didn't anticipate that.
yeah,
So
he views
yeah,
this as an interesting development for
yeah,
I guess his potential experiment and how he creates like the more Vizards or the Iran cars in particular.
yeah. And yeah, we also get, of course, a post-credit scene with Uryu. Um, and this is apparently this is more new content. Um, basically, we just see Uryu standing in the rain, and we also see Hashwald, who's there, like just watching him. And this could kind of like pretty much explain like why Uryu does certain things later on in the manga. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll just have to see where they go with that. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It it what was really impressive about it was just the rain effects, I think. I mean, we've seen it before, but I think they really try to emphasize it here with how, you know, just the amount of detail in the rain, and also because the this arc is kind of so focused on that as kind of a general theme.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it created a much more tense atmosphere when Ishin was fighting this Hollow
yeah.
alongside Masaki later. But it actually made the episode so much better with how detailed the rain effects were.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it was also just great, like, as especially like if you're an anime only, kind of finally learning about Ishin's backstory and also learning more about Ichigo's mother, because of course we don't really know much of anything about who she was before, like, you know, she died in the beginning of the series, other than some of the things that we hear from Ishin, but that's about it. So it was kind of really interesting to finally get to see like how they first met and all that,
Hmm.
and also how it kind of and also like how it ties into the original plot of Bleach as well, with Aizen's whole plan, because that was something that anime onlys also have been wondering about for years, and kind of also sort of making fun of because of them saying like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like, how would Aizen have planned out Ichigo's entire life? And this arc seems to kind of try to explain how that might have happened.
Yeah, it definitely creates a much more interesting development, and
Yeah.
I'm even more curious about the circumstances about Masaki's death in particular. I mean, supposedly that she was killed by a Hollow before the events, but
Yeah,
I
Grand Fisher.
yeah, but I'm starting to suspect that there was more to what happened to her death than what
Yeah, there
Ishin's
probably
really
is. That
describing.
that might be one of the major reveals we get in this arc. Is that there was probably more behind her death.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
but
hopefully we'll get to learn more because next week's episode is gonna be a double length episode. Well,
yeah.
not a double length episode. It's gonna be two episodes being broadcasted at once.
So it'll probably be like 40 some minutes long, maybe close to an
Yeah,
hour. But I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be a really great way to end the first core.
yeah. I mean, we still don't really have an indication of whether or not they're gonna continue this series, or they're gonna go off on break for a few months and then bring it back.
I think they probably are going to go on break, but I think they did. I feel like I did hear they said they were going to be continuing it. Well, they didn't say, of course, a definitive date, but they're already basically in. I think the pre-production stage or something for the next core.
Mhm.
So yeah, but we still don't know when that's going to happen. But we do know that it is going to definitely be, well, yeah, it's going to be next year.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the last episode. It really sucks that we're going to have to wait so long, but of course, I mean, Bleach fans are just used to waiting because we've had to wait so long for this. I mean, for of course the Thousand Year Blood War arc to even be animated. Like 10, yeah, actually, no, more than that. Yeah, we've had to wait like a long time, but
Mhm.
yeah, so I mean, but it was worth it, definitely. I mean, like, I feel like this is, if anything, like this anime has proven it was definitely worth the wait, because I mean, it's just night and day in comparison to the original series. Even though I really love the original series, like, it just can't hold a candle to, like, you know, how this series has looked, or how this season, I guess, has looked, and how it's been directed and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
I also really feel like that some of the changes that Kubo has made and being more involved in this in particular, that um,
yeah,
it's
well,
it's
that's
actually
no,
benefited with these changes, and
yeah.
additions to for this new season.
That's another difference too, is that of course in the original series, like, Kupo was not as involved, and in this series, he's pretty heavily involved from what we understand.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I thought it was a great episode. Like, of course we don't get any like really like crazy fight scenes or anything like we've seen in some of the other episodes, but I mean, I wasn't really thinking we were going to get anything like that. I was just really, like I said, really impressed with the attention to detail with the rain, and I think that was what they really wanted to convey with this episode in particular, because of because of the name and just because of the general theme of rain. And I think they definitely nailed that aspect of
Yeah.
it.
I still feel like the fight between Ishin and the Hollow was still visually impressive.
It was,
revealing, including revealing what Ishin's Zanpakuto name is and what his abilities are.
Yeah, that was interesting to see too, because we don't really get too much of that in the original series either. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
It was pretty. It's something we've been waiting for years now, and finally get to see the backstory finally adapted and animated for the first time is definitely one of the highlights for this season.
Yeah. Yeah. I am kind of glad I'm in anime only because I'm not. I still while I might know kind of some things are gonna come next. There's a lot I still don't know, so I'm definitely interested in what's going to happen in the next episode. Also, not to mention, we're probably going to be getting most likely quite a few different anime original scenes, probably, especially to end off the core. I would imagine we're probably going to get definitely some anime original stuff. So I'm looking forward to that too. But yeah, so guys, that all being said, until next week, we will see you all next time.